Hi there everybody, Richard Roy 2 here. I hope you'll excuse my voice. I'm just getting over pneumonia. I'm feeling a lot better now, thank you. This is an attempt to respond to Sword Sage, who posted a fascinating video regarding healthcare and whether or not it's right or a privilege. And I must tell you, Sword Sage, this has been a really, really tough one because, well, for a couple of reasons. There's a lot in that video that you put up there, and I really admire your ability to present ideas in such a long chain of thought so well, so clearly. Business versus people. These are some of the things you are going. Business versus people. What kind of conflict is going on here? Is it a right or a privilege? But a lot of times when you bring up privilege, most of the time I see you presenting it as privilege of affordability. So that the only thing that everything then becomes a privilege, because the right to life becomes a privilege. Because then it's only those who can afford to live who are going to live, right? If you can't afford food, if you can't afford shelter, otherwise you're screwed. But there are charities. So why shouldn't there be charities also in medical area? And I think there is. Free clinics and whatnot. Now, you also brought along certain ideas like socialism versus capitalism. You said, well, socialism, nobody really knows what that fucking means. Well, I'll tell you, from what I'm looking at, nobody really seems to know what the fuck capitalism means either. Because everything that's blamed on capitalism isn't the fault of capitalism, because the United States is not capitalistic. It does not really have a capitalist framework. There is some there. It's a mixed economy, and for that reason, it's going downhill because more and more rules are seen to be needed. And I ask the question, why, if you're going to put more rules in there without even enforcing the damn ones you've got? You're not going to get any better. It's like George Bush saying, we need more information because the information we had, we couldn't connect. Yeah, right. You put all that information, you dump a lot more in there, you're just going to get lost in the soup. How's it going to be any better that way? Okay. Now, one of the problems with a lot of the stuff that we have right now seems to fall in the hands of insurance companies. The single-payer aspect of things seems to be a big problem because one of the fundamental things that seems to be derived from this is that insurance is covering the cost. The person who's actually using it doesn't really see the cost of things and doesn't shop around and try to get the best worth or value for the money. So they go out and they'll get everything they can. It's like somebody that says, oh, if I don't have to pay for food, I don't have to worry about the cost. I go into the grocery store. Why would I get all the, chintzy little things, Why not get the filet mignon, the caviar, the champagne, and all that sort of stuff instead of getting the beer and the hamburger and the slab of fish, So the cost ends up escalating like crazy, and everybody's wondering why nobody can afford the insurance because there's no real reciprocity to it. There's no real feeling of how expensive it is. You go out to get some sort of service from a doctor, you should be saying, hey, how much is it going to cost? Can I get a better deal here? But a lot of that doesn't seem to figure into it. Everybody just seems to say, oh, well, hell, I don't have to pay for it. Yes, you do. In the long run, you do. And if you don't watch it, you're going to get yourself in trouble. The United States already seems to be in trouble because the issue of Medicaid seems to have brought them to their knees already. And that's one of the reasons why they're in trouble and decided they have to revamp the system. But look at what they're doing. They're saying, oh, we want to have more of it, more control over it. Why? You don't seem to be able to control what you got. And it's already gone to hell. Death panels. That was a screwy tactic. One side was using against the other, the Republicans against Democrats. And that's basically, it's based on the idea that there has to be limits. Everything has to have limits. If you go into healthcare, you'll find something, some way of keeping somebody alive indefinitely for no reason whatsoever, and it can suck the money out of you like crazy. You have to have some sort of a justification diversification going on. Individually, we make those decisions ourselves. If we no longer have the right to make those decisions, somebody's going to have to make them, because you just can't have some people out there that are going to suck all the funds out of the system. Death panels. It's a stupid term for an actual requirement of such a system. Government is there to protect rights. And you spoke of several things like free speech, attorneys, the right to bear arms, and self-defense. And all these things are truisms, but they're all, well, save one, in a certain respect. The trouble is you have the right to a defense, and the government had to interpret, well, then you need a lawyer, and you have to have proper representation. So we're going to provide you with one. The right to defense is the right to an action. I guess they didn't want people going in there, idiots standing there and not knowing how to behave in the courts, but then the courts turn into some sort of weird sort of ceremony in themselves. The right to bear arms, again, bear arms, not the right to arms. I mean, a gun is a product, it's a property. You don't have the right to that, because if you do, you've got to get it from somebody. So who's going to be in prison to provide it? The right to free speech. You have the right to speak your mind, but you don't have the right to a radio, you don't have the right to a broadcast, you don't have the right to a paper, unless you can afford it, which makes that a privilege as well. Or you can go out and find people who are willing to back you financially, if they think that if you can convince them that your ideas are good enough that need to be spread. I mean, that's a lot of what politicians are all about, isn't it? Say the health insurance is running a business. You can't expect them to lose money. Well, a loss of business is a loss of product. You lose if they can't afford. Now, I'm not saying there isn't such a thing as corruption. Governments have their hands in it all the time. They seem to be able to funnel all this money through them and filter it out in different ways. So we end up with lots of problems there. They're even finding a lot of corruption out there. The systems in themselves, just the systems, just the infrastructure, the systems themselves seem to be sucking funds out of it like crazy already, and they're already buried down on a lot of these frauds. So putting it into a central hands of a bureaucrat is not going to make it any less corrupt. I don't know why everybody thinks that the moment you get the government to handle something, it's going to be better. They're people. Why would they be any less susceptible to corruption than people? As a matter of fact, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. How about that old saying? And it does have a certain amount of impact. It's not necessarily the person is corrupt, as much as the person tends to let things go a lot of times, even the good ones. And they spoke of Haiti. Everybody's saying, oh, look, they need stuff down there. Yeah, well, okay, well, they're all running down there, as opposed to all the little bits that are over here. You know, it's a funny thing about that one. Everybody running down to Haiti like crazy. Well, that's because it produces more effect of the illusion of your goodness. So everybody runs down there and does all this sort of stuff. Says, look at me, I'm doing real good, I'm helping. It's just like George Bush. Say, well, we don't want to really attack Afghanistan so much as Iraq, because Iraq has actual collateral property that we can actually attack and do something to. Over in Afghanistan, there's nothing to do, so we get more return for the bomb. So you want to consider a strange way of approaching things. Start looking at it in that fashion. Haiti, well, people are going down there to help people. They need things. Needing things doesn't constitute the expression of a right. I need food, I need shelter doesn't mean that I have the right to food and shelter. It means I have the right to exercise my ability to provide myself with those things. If you can see any problems with my discussion, I'd love to hear them. Maybe my mind's a little bit off right now because of the sickness, but thanks a lot, Sword Sage. It's a fascinating discussion and one that needs to be brought. I've seen a lot of interesting comments on that one in regarding to a lot of ideas, and some that agree with me too. Thanks again, and take care.